Well, hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here with a dear blissness business sister from way back, Amanda Noelle, Dr. Amanda Noelle, who I was in a business coaching program with her 10 years ago. And we've been in touch off and on. And she went on to be supremely successful with her YouTube videos and her Twin Flame International business. And then she also created, at the same time, I think, Aphrodite University, of which I got to be a priestess professor at. And it was such an interesting, unusual, amazing, creative experience to be involved with Aphrodite University. And Amanda is here to, we have a tentative title of Orgasmically Birth Your Divine Partnership, Magnetize Your Life Purpose Partner from the Sacred Womb. Because I just want to say is that this is an area, the whole relationship area is, relevant to business and to personal. And it's not my area of expertise. And yet the whole getting connected to your womb and your feminine sacred energy, the natural output of that would be a divine union. So I'm so glad to have you, Amanda, and would love to have you share what brought you into that direction or take us wherever you are wanting to take us today.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here, all of you. And oh my gosh, to start, well, what I'm getting is just like in real life, they teach us that birthing is hard. It's painful. We see all these images in movies of how there's contractions, whereas in the orgasmic birthing world, it's called a surge, and it's really about reframing things. So I didn't really know, but I was born into a matrix that was pushing my consciousness into the relationships are painful mindset. Of course, it was disguised as the Disney fairy tale, Prince Charming will save you. I loved Cinderella when I was a little girl. I loved all those fairy tales. And it evolved later into Pretty in Pink and Pretty Woman. And as long as I was very attractive and also having a good college degree and really keeping up with the guys would really, you just get the best guy in the room. He was going to turn you on and meet all of your needs. And somehow that didn't work out. I don't know. Is there anybody here that didn't work out for? Oh my gosh. For me, I know I'm such a lover archetype. My name literally Amanda means beloved. And I was always like, why did my parents name me this? I'm always getting heartbroken. They should just call me be hated or be, broken. And for years and years, I put like a lot of my efforts, more than really was healthy. Like, we probably want to have in our, especially in those foundational years, like university and getting a job. It was like, for me, it was more like 80% of my efforts were going into fantasy, obsession, crushes, relationships. Sometimes it was healthy, like reading a good personal development book. And sometimes it was just mere punishment and hatred. And I did really struggle, as so many women do, with body image issues. I actually had, never was diagnosed, but probably had somewhat severe body dysmorphic disorder or dysmorphia. I had definitely disordered eating, if not a full-blown eating disorder at points. And at the same time, I thought that that was my ticket to finding love. If I could just look a little bit hotter, if I could just be a little bit thinner, then I could climb up this ladder, this ascension ladder of my Jesus would come and save me, right? Doesn't this sound a little familiar with like the biblical Jesus saving us and also our Prince Charming? So what is going on with that? So I kept on just getting back over the heartbreaks, and I'd get on the horse again and I'd ride a little faster, and then I would get thrown off the horse to the point where it wasn't, I didn't just have like broken ankles, proverbially speaking. I had like full blown like coma. And actually, literally in real life, at my right before my 30th birthday, the man that I thought was my twin flame, I'd studied about relationships and twin flames to the point that I'd found this twin flame prophecy, this very alluring concept that there were going to be 144,000 women and men that would rise up on this earth to birth the new earth, come together, align the DNA of our bodies and create this massive ascension and awakening and save humanity. And I was like, sign me up. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. And even though there was like a little warning of like hashtag like beware, this could be not for the faint of heart. And, there's a connection between twin flames and false twin flames. And like, it's really confusing, but I was like, I'll figure it out. I love so much. So I met this beautiful man, and I didn't end up in a coma exactly. I don't know, maybe I was, but I did end up in a hospital bed because I wanted to wake up this man so badly. And I don't know if Michelle or any of you out here have resonated with, like, you find your perfect person, you're in love, and like everything is going great, except there's this one huge, ginormous like red flag, or maybe just a disconnect or concern. How can we work around this? And at the time, it made sense looking back. It makes sense now. But at the time, I was like, why did I manifest my twin flame? He's everything. I literally sat in the park, grabbed my journal. I said, I actually didn't know the word twin flame. I said, I call in my soulmate now. And he's handsome. He's like 6 foot something. I was like writing, and he's smart. And literally this guy walks over, looks just like that. Hey, what are you writing about? And I was like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing. Like, that's kind of personal. But and we just hit it off and had all these sparks, and we had all these bizarre synchronicities, all these even like ancestral, like his great grandfather was also from Lithuania, Lithuanian Jewish that escaped the Holocaust. And also his father had this like business that was successful and lost it at the same time. Like all these wounds kind of mapped out in our family patterns. So the one red flag for me, and this might be, sometimes some of you have had this in the past, hopefully you don't have it again, is the big red flag was he did not meet me in one area. No, it wasn't the bedroom. I know you ladies are here in the womb. So the bedroom was quite fun. It was on a spiritual level. He intellectually, he was deeply like I could feel it, but he was terrified of me being a shaman, a priestess, a healer. And he intuitively loved it, and he was drawn in. But there's a part of him that had signed up for a very specific religious order. And as much as I wanted to completely convert him and have him come into my goddess priestess temple, which he did, he played there. So I tried to entice him, and this plan was not a very good one. I was like, you know what, if I can just wake him up the way that I really quantumed my expression of awakening. I went to psychic school. I studied soul coaching. I traveled the world, went to Asia. I've done at that point, I'd already done a lot of spiritual studies. But the thing that blasted me off at Burning Man one year was a little magic mushroom. And I was like, I have a plan. I'll take this magic mushroom bag somebody gifted me back to take it to this guy, and he is going to wake up. This is a great idea. No, don't do that. Don't try it. If somebody does not want to awaken. So in this journey, I went down into the Bardo. We did mushrooms together. I was out. My goal was to wake him up. At the same time, I also wanted to heal something that was really at the foundation misaligned for me. I had been making $4,000 to $5,000 a year for years, like for almost a decade. I had a degree from Duke University. I think I had I didn't have my PhD yet, but I was on the path of studying, and I was a hard worker. But something was fundamentally wrong with my relationship with money. So I put that in the intentional ceremony. I was like, we're gonna find out our truth together, and I'm gonna clear my money issues, and we're gonna be together. I ended up on a hospital bed because I went off to the moon. I took the big blue mushroom. Don't do that. Alice in Wonderland is not a good movie to live out in real life. But I went down into the womb of Mother Earth, down into the Bardo. And there was a lot of dark stuff down there. And this is where I want to, and just cut in anytime, because I have a channel that sometimes does not stop.
That's very entertaining and amazing. So yeah,
But yeah, direct me because I can go off to the moon, which I did that night. I went off to the moon, and I woke up, and I knew that he had broken up with me because I felt his hand leave. I couldn't remember a thing past the point where we went to Egypt underneath the pyramids. That was the last part of the journey, which I was in Marin County, which is where you're based right now. But in this experience, I literally saw with my third eyes and kind of my eyes too, a hologram that the womb was the inner earth. And it could be the womb of an atom. It could be the womb of our heart. It could be this, the womb is really the center of everything, of birthing. And what was inside my womb and inside the earth was a lot of old programming that was not light. It was satanic, it was dark, it was evil, it was raping the earth. And I experienced it, and I'm feeling chills all around the left side of my head. I was experiencing the raping of this earth as it happened in Egypt many thousands of years ago, when there was a sort of a more balanced, or we can say harmonious relationship with the feminine and masculine between nature and science. And I experienced, while on medicine, very, very high dose of this blue mushroom, this divine divorce between the twin flames that were in rule at that time. And he, the ruling masculine, betrayed her, and she stayed with the earth. It was not easy for either of them. This was not just Amanda and this person that she was with. This was also a bleed through of what happened as the codes of the priest and priestess, where there was a turning point where basically the earth got hit with external energy. Maybe it was through radiation from the sun. Maybe it was through invasion from reptilian forces. Maybe it was something in our brain hit by the sun that turned on our reptilian brain. And there was a massive disconnect between the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. And you could say the brain of the womb and the brain of the head, heartbreak, big, big, big heartbreak around the world, sweeping across the globe, massive amounts of water, earthquake, cataclysms. And those who profited from this were, in a sense, the same energies of today's corrupted political leaders, business, major corporation owners, these satanic, dark masculine forces. And some of them may be women, although I do feel that there's a lot more men because of the way that the physical human form has been. So in this experience, at age 30, where I was just kind of a newbie shaman, I was shown this horrible experience. And at the same time, I woke up in Marin County hospital bedroom. I went through this shamanic death, so I didn't know I was still alive. I was like, oh, that's interesting. My legs are still here. I haven't shaved them and still have legs. And I came out of it, and I ended up not only having the biggest spiritual, weird, crazy awakening that was the lightest and darkest. I had angels, I had some demons, I had police officers that were pinning me down, 5 of them in San Anselmo, California. And I also had medical personnel that were actually loving. And I remember them of like, you're going to be okay, you know. So I was a high achieving woman that was then the fallen woman. I was the one that peed in the hospital bed because I thought I was dead anyways. I was the woman that got dumped by her man that I'd said we're basically engaged. It's on like Donkey Kong. We're gonna have the best kids and we're gonna take over the planet. We're gonna just be so awesome together, and it's gonna make up for all those years of financial failure. Instead, I was homeless. I had no plan because we were going to move in together. I'd let go of my situation. I'd let go of my rental situation. I was kind of between jobs. And then I had to call my family and say, I've gotten arrested. Can I have a little backup support? Wow. But the amazing thing is it turns out that when we go through these dark, even demonic experiences, we go into these dimensions deep into the womb, deep into the pain. If there's pain there now, it means it has been there for a long time. It means it's time to clear it. So it was time for me to clear this relationship that I had that was coming through my consciousness through things like maybe Disney, through things like being heartbroken over and over again. Symptoms, something was wrong for a long, long time. It was not just me. It was not just my mother. She went through trauma. My grandmother went through trauma, great grandmother. So there was this thing going back. So that's why I realized no matter how much therapy I had had this lifetime, it was only getting to the surface. Underneath it was this past heartbreak that was not just me. It was Gaia. It was a planetary, it was a cosmic thing. And then I find out that the ancients that had the mystery schools, and it's still, there are some of these mystery school concepts that are embedded into the structures of, say, Freemasonry. My father was a Freemason. He passed away about 2 years ago, but he gave me this book and he's like, you'd probably vibe with this. It's a mystery school kind of book that it's not our main, it's not a mainstream Masonic book, but it was translated by a Freemason, and it's the esoteric aspect of Freemasonry, that all of these symbols and traditions, they come back from Egypt. There are pictures of Atlantis with spaceships in it, little illustrations. There were teachings about how we start as an atom and we go up the rung, the ladder, Jacob's ladder, and we become plants, we become fish, animals, humans. And after that, we become more angelic. And that's where we become planetary beings. We could become like Gaia, we can become a sun, then we can become a galaxy, and then we become universes, and we're all made of the same shit. So in our wombs, this is the core of the hologram of the feminine. This is the core of the hologram of the masculine, and this is the twin flame core. And I was not aligned in my heart yet. I had so much wounding from this ancient trauma. So if you're a woman that's been struggling in relationships, or even you have this like marriage that you're so proud of, that you've like worked through your shit and you want to take it to the next level, we're probably all working on these deep ancient traumas that aren't necessarily just ours.
Right.
So I guess that was the message that wanted to come through, Michelle. I wasn't expecting that. So I want to talk more about the womb because that's why I'm here with you, but that's where it went.
Well, I just want to say that it really resonates with who we've been talking about, Marguerite Gaglioso, when she was doing a course on Guinevere, and then another course with, it was mostly in the Guinevere course. She was just talking about how the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine have been sort of pried apart with these, this programming of relationships never work out. Like there's this idealized relationship stuff that's a fairy tale that we all kind of know is a fairy tale, but we kind of hang on to, but then the reality is, oh, well, relationships will never work out. And so this, right, and Guinevere and Arthur were pried apart. They were going to birth a sacred divine child. So it affects everyone to it be, it's a great disempowerer to break apart this sacred union. So I just really, I think that's such an important message.
Yes, I definitely align with that.
Right?
And the good news is that, because sometimes I can be on the dramatic side because my awakening was so intense, and my husband will be like, don't forget to talk about the happily ever after that we have, and like, the good stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, we need to talk about, like, shit has been going on. We've been MK Ultra to get in the state. We've been burned by the media. We've been burned by the marriage systems. We've been burned by the school systems. Like, we don't have our mystery schools. The books have been burned in the Library of Alexandria that were supposed to teach us all this stuff. It's in the Vatican, So I could be a little bit melodramatic, but the beautiful thing is we have the whole Akashic Record Library inside us. We have, as much as we might have an maybe a facade that says my womb is shut down, or I can't find love, or my dysfunctional past proves that I really should just give up now. Any of those illusions are healable. And divine love is absolutely accessible to us at all times, because we are actually ultimately connected to our higher self, and we can plug into the lower octave of the earth, the traumatized version of her, or we can quantum shift and remember the holographic energy based on the twin flame feminine and masculine, and tune into that, because ultimately that's what a sovereign being does. We don't say, I'm going to dial into Disney right now. I'm going to dial into the Disney hotline. I'm going to dial into a matrix that was created by a book that was designed to disenfranchise, to distort holy teachings. So we have to be really careful. Any guru, any teacher, any Bible, any book outside of ourselves, and say, thank you for the puzzle piece. Thank you for letting me interpret that for you. That's your truth. And then come back in again. And I think that's the biggest teaching that we're not only not taught, we're actually taught not to utilize it,
Right.
right? By the church and by school, memorize this. You have a test on Friday, not like what's coming up inside of you. And so once I was so burned, once I was so heartbroken, I was like, screw this. I'm going to do it my way. I've already ruined my life. Everybody thinks I'm a total F up and I'm humiliated. I've had the worst heartbreak. I might as well just go off and do me now. So that is what I did. And I say do me, and I spell it DEW as well as do. I did myself. I did me. I made love to myself. I founded a practice. I discovered a practice. I found it, and then I did start sharing it with women, which was to manifest with orgasm, to let go of waiting for somebody to fill your cup up, but to discover how big, how wide, how juicy your cup is. And so that's probably a place where we could put a little attention on today.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got your ladies here.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I said on Instagram was you don't need to be in a relationship to have a great sex life,
It's absolutely true.
right? And you're better off taking some time on your own to really get to know your own sexual chemistry and energy and what turns you on and what feels good before you are, and it will help magnetize for one, and you'll have a better time when you're with somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is kind of a mind F to be like, I can literally like meet all of my needs, because like
Yes.
sometimes when we're the most fulfilled, it's in those states of being drunk on love and lust, chasing after something, and we think like it doesn't get better than that because he's gonna or she's gonna, they're gonna.
Hmm.
That when you can get to that space, and it doesn't have to last for months and years, it can just last for a couple of moments. When you can get inside yourself and be like, whoa, I did that to myself, and I feel so full right now. I don't need something. Then it's like an unbreakable bond that you have with yourself and your creator, and that is incredibly magnetic to your person. And then also lumps and bumps happen in life with our partners when we're in those rocky places, when we're in our moods, when the moon is doing its full moon dance, and you're in a fight and it's Venus retrograde. You have this amazing space to come back to. You can make love to yourself. You're not like, they owe me this. And
Yeah.
if I don't get it from them, then like I'm going to hate on them. And there's this bigger separation. So yeah, it's a perfect way to keep humanity separated. Just make masturbation, self-pleasure a sin, make women completely codependent on men financially, sexually, everything. And then you've conquered it and divided the whole society, which then topples over, and then powers that be can come in and take it. So it's really literally taking our power back into our own hands
Definitely.
and freeing ourselves and finding not only our sexual energy, but also our love making. It's not just about getting off. It really is like, wow, I didn't know I could make love to myself. Like that was never taught to me. I thought loving myself was putting myself on the diet, going to the gym, being really fit, and having someone say, wow, you're so strong, Amanda. You look so sexy and you're so smart. And like, that is self-love right there.
That's so, I so agree with you. And I remember when you were doing the masturbation meditations and using your sexual energy to manifest. And I remember I was not connected to my sexual energy at the time, but I really, I was just so like, wow. Back then, I was like, this girl, this woman, she's on it. She's ahead of the game.
Yeah, it was trippy. It was trippy waking up to it 10 years ago, and especially being so young, and I was outspoken, but I didn't necessarily feel like anybody was listening to me, or I didn't really even take myself seriously. I was just like, hey, no one's paying attention anyways. I've been totally humiliated. I've been that woman burnt at the stake. And what's really cool now is I'm like, wow, this is spreading like wildfire. I hear so many women talking about sex magic, how they've manifested, how they've healed themselves, how they're going into deep healing, and it's like this amazingly positively viral expression of the divine feminine rising. So I'm truly excited. Its challenges are that it's still um, taboo. It's still even if we're super liberated and we go to Burning Man and we're living in these cities that are like these portals, San Francisco, New York, Austin, Texas, where you have these parties, and there's still wishy-washy legality about it. I know Marguerite Riggioso has been talking about how like finally she could be a plant medicine priestess with Saint Maria, and that we can talk about these things openly, because legally, the medicines are not being outcasted. Well, our wombs are still being outcasted in some ways. In the country I live in, I don't know why I manifested being in a Muslim country, and I love all religions. And it's like, can't do stuff here. Cannot do it legally. Cannot do it. Technically, I'm allowed to be in a heterosexual relationship without pornography with my husband. And so that's what I have to do here. Does that feel good to be in that vibration? No. Does that feel good to know that a lot of women around the world legally cannot own their womb power? No. So those of you who are in the safe havens, take advantage of your power. The world will be saved by the Western woman. The world will be saved by the wombs that are activated in the Western women. So we've got to take advantage of our freedoms and build that love. And then another beautiful thing is nobody can persecute you in your own bedroom. Nobody knows, so we have to own this aspect of secretness. And that's one of the keys in Manifest with Orgasm is this is your holy temple. Nobody comes in, nobody comes out but you. If you want to come out, you do. If not, it's just yours. And that is so freeing. No matter what laws you're under, no matter what house you're under, if you're living in a judgmental space, you can still have your quiet lovemaking and no one has to know about it. And you can be loud about it if you feel safe to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you, I'm just curious what, like, for example, with the sex magic thing, I know that, I mean, it can be, I think, what I have learned since then is that you can make it the way you want it to be. It doesn't have to be like this typical crazy orgasmic, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that energy is really helpful, but I mean, it's how you are going to feel most comfortable with your sexual energy in order to use it for manifesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My husband and I will often end up not having orgasms when we're doing a sex magic ritual, because we'll like literally be going into something that needs conversation and communication, something that needs physical healing. It's just not flowing into orgasm. If it does, great. If not, great. Or sometimes, it'll be one of us having an orgasm, the other person holding space, and we'll anchor in the energies regardless of if anybody's having an orgasm. If not, just holding the container and setting intentions is already enough. It can be powerful and palpable if one is physically or energetically orgasmic, or one can use the elements of, say, if you're doing a ritual and you want to light a candle and have water come in, or you want to dance, like this is my prayer for. So there's really no limitation to it. And you can't force the feminine. You can't force flow.
No, and orgasmic energy isn't just about so
Getting off.
exactly like all of it's accessing the energy itself.
Exactly. And sometimes it's the most subtle thing. It could literally just be, my husband, like he's a Pisces. He's wearing a shirt today. It says Pisces King. My way of touching, when we first met on the dance floor, we just energetically bonded like instantly. It was like, hallelujah. Which I after going through this dark night of the soul and having a really hard time being able to connect with anybody physically. I used to dance, ecstatic dance, like 5 days a week. And then after my dark night of the soul, getting arrested and going through this death energy rebirthing, it took me about 1.5 years to get to dances. And then it took me, I think it was about 5 years when I met my husband. And he was the first person that I could dance with for more than like a minute or two. When we met, we both felt this like big beam of white light. And we were just like, oh, this is so nice. To me, that's an orgasm, or that's an orgasmic state, just having this light energy.
Absolutely.
Then it's interesting, we was physically dance together, and I felt like, oh my gosh, our touch styles are different. I was like, I want to like dig into him. I want to like deep massage. I want to get in there. I want to like contact him. And he's kind of like light. He was like yin and I was young. And I was like, it's super fun dancing with him. But I was like, this is so confusing. My brain is like, what's going on? And what's been really amazing to discover is that in bed at the beginning, I'm more masculine, he's more feminine. And then when we get to the build up, if we get to a build up, because we don't always, then he steps into this like fully masculine space and I'm fully feminine.
I love it.
So it's fun to play with all these dimensions, but the expectation is like it should be like this all the time. So our foreplay will be what he loves is light touch. And I've had to learn because I'm just like, don't you want to get like this, baby? And he's like, yeah, that's my Pisces is like, no, I'm not really feeling it. But you don't like me. So it's been a journey to embrace like not being good at sex. Like I'm like, but this is what I'm good at. All my other lovers liked it. And so that's been really like, can you step up and grab a hold of the steering wheel of vulnerability, of like not knowing what you're doing? Like, yeah, we're gonna go on vulnerability. So yeah, manifesting with orgasm, I'd say one of the biggest things is you become your own priestess. If you have a priest in there too, you guys both get to be that sovereign space. And it's about letting go and throwing away any ideas of anything, unless it really inspires you. Like, oh, I learned this from this tantric priestess, or I learned this from an ex-lover. I really like this. It's great. You can bring it in. There's no have tos. And that's a hard one to remember sometimes because we're so indoctrinated. And is he going to think I'm weird if I do this? That's something that I have to even say in my own masturtation practices. I still have places that are like, that's weird. You shouldn't do that. You should try something different. That's wrong. Who's saying that?
Yeah.
It's me. So I'll check in and have those conversations. But I love when I can call that out and be like, that's not what I want in my life anymore. So whatever's going on in my temple priestess space, it's usually going on everywhere. So it's a great study. It's a great little seed space, a petri dish to play and understand our patterns, because what we do in our boudoir, and our sexual energy, it's a holographic mirror of our subconscious mind. So if we're limiting ourselves in and we're getting turned on by certain things, doesn't mean we're literally turned. Like, say you have a fantasy about being choked, doesn't mean you need to be choked in real life, like doesn't mean you need to die. But there's a part of you that's like, I want, maybe there's a part of you that wants to restrict your fifth chakra. Maybe you're like, I want to know what it's like to restrict, to have my voice shut down. And then you realize, wow, I'm going through a process right now where I have writer's block, and it's helping me to get away from my computer and to dance and express it differently. So we can really like start to read. And that's why I love working with psychic energy, and why I love analyzing life like with such curiosity. Why is it that I'm turned on by this? Why is it that I like this? And no judgment doesn't mean anything. It's just could be a weird just old programs. Maybe you came in with this incarnation and you're turned on by this. As long as you're taking action from love, as long as you're not hurting anyone, ahimsa. And when you're alone, you're not hurting yourself, as long as you're being loving. So just go fantasize to the moon, breathe to, whatever feels good, go slow, go fast, go deep. But yeah, that is an act of love in its of itself.
Beautiful. I also love you're such a good coiner of words and phrases and things. And when you say life purpose partner, that's a really, that could have just slipped right by, but life purpose partner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I tend to work with clients that either their person comes in when we do the manifestation phase and they call in their twin flame. Either that person is currently like ready to create a purpose with them, or like, whoa, you're a graphic designer and I am someone that helps someone launch their businesses. Let's pair up together, and it, just like gels. Or it could be something like he's working. I have one of my clients, Claudia Zaberski, who for years, her partner has been kind of doing his own thing. And now they're coming together and they're doing twin flame or relationship coaching. But he was more like the corporate, like rocking it with real estate mainstream. And she was like the woo woo, bringing him magic. And it was this beautiful dynamic exchange. But now he's so awake. They're like, okay, let's coach together. So sometimes it's a matter of timing. So I don't want to limit anybody and say, yeah, like your soul purpose partner should look like someone that you share a business with, you open a nonprofit. It could just be, wow, like your soul purpose in your work over here is like completely activating me and building my confidence. It's making me want to be the best person I am. And so, yeah, it really does turn on the soul purpose as long as we're feeding it with love, as long as
Yeah.
we're growing together.
Right. If you're growing together, that to me is a life purpose partner, you know,
Exactly. Exactly. And
building a team together, whatever you're doing in your personal life or professional life.
absolutely. And it all fits together. It's like one garden where it's like, okay, there's maybe a relationship over here, business over here, house over here, but like it's all one garden. And so um if you're not tending to the garden, if you're not getting sun, if you're not getting water and fertilizer and all that stuff. So we need to tend to our relationships regularly. It's a muscle. If you don't use it, it does not grow and it starts to decline. If we are just like setting and forgetting our businesses, I don't care. Like there's nobody I know that has like a business funnel from 10 years ago that's just still working. Like you have to continue to give it life unless you sell it and then you're like investing it in crypto there are definitely ways to create financial freedom. And when you're still in that root growth phase, which is always going to be that way in your relationship, we're never done. Yeah, we need to continue evolving and growing. And so when I work on my relationship with my partner, business stuff, it doesn't necessarily instantly grow. Sometimes it declines temporarily. I'm like, whoa, going through a deep nervous system reset. And I need to kind of like be a mess right now. And my business energy is looking a little wonky. But then I come back and then, ooh, it grows. So there's timing in order to. When I heal myself, my relationship grows. Again, sometimes that could be I heal myself and my partner feels really triggered. Why are you so distant right now? Well, I need to go on walks. I need to journal, but I want to be with you. Well, I need to go in. And then what always happens is he thanks me afterwards. He's like, thank you for kicking me out of your space for a little bit, lovingly, saying you needed to go do you, because I just went on a beautiful motorbike ride. We live here in beautiful Bali, and he'll send this give a little view. Sorry for the motorbikes, it's just life in Bali, but he'll go and adventure out and like find exquisite places and come back and be like, oh my gosh, I went to this waterfall and I had this awakening experience. And so I love it. It reminds me that when I listen to the higher calling, and even if it feels like, oh, I'm upsetting someone, I'm triggering even a part of myself, can I leave him? If I go over a whole day's, is he going to be mad at me or my kid? Or, if I take a month off in my business, are my clients going to like wonder if even if I have, teams set up, and when I do it, when I really listen, the block just alchemizes into whatever it's meant to be on the next level. And there's growth on all levels.
Wonderful. Um, and then what would you want to share about the womb?
Yeah, specifically about the womb. Gosh, there's so much in there. Um, so the womb is both physical and energetic, and there is no space in between. Literally, the material plane, from what I've studied, the material plane is solidified energy that's come through. First, it starts with electrons, then it starts to build physical material. And we have, of course, our DNA that gave us our wombs. So we think of our wombs as like solid, something that's like just this thing. And on the polarity spectrum, yes, we have just the material. We also have this quantum 5D higher dimensional. The womb is pure energy. And that's why women who have been struggling with orgasms for decades can all of a sudden have these multidimensional orgasms and just like claim their energy back. That's why we can have years of trauma and it's stopping us from having love and connection. And then all of a sudden we have this like incredible partnership where you're like, the triggers aren't that big of a deal. And someone like, how did this happen? So we want to be aware of both. We want to be embodied as we're also tapping into this higher dimensional energy. And so that's where all of it, meditation, psychic energy, connecting to something outside of just our physical plane. Maybe it's a connection to the goddesses or to the cosmos, to whatever higher self connection or expression or working with spirit guides. With the womb, I guess I did want to share just briefly 2 stories because I think they depict the power of the womb and the power of the energy of the womb. Is that I was in Bali. I came here to birth our first daughter. We have just one daughter, Elisa, and she's 4 now. But when I was pregnant with her, at the kind of the tail end of the pregnancy, they're like, your baby's head is kind of like the wrong way, like her butt is facing down, and like that means that you have a breech baby. And I went through this whole journey because I came here to birth in flower water and I wanted a beautiful natural birth. And they're like, you can't have that. I'm sorry. Like, we don't do breech births here. And I guess for legality reasons, I can't share the whole birth story because there's a persecution on natural births. There's a persecution on breech birthing all over the world. Research says that it's much healthier to breech birth if you have a doctor or a caretaker that can, a healthcare practitioner that can support you. It's much better for the mom and the baby, and it will save lives to have a breech birther. But cost effective wise, not good. Not good for the big pharma. So that's why we had this super high rate of C-sections on Fridays, because the doctors want to get paid more. They go home, they have less stress. But did the child grow up with allergies and asthma because of that? Because research says, and it takes more time for the woman to heal, statistically anyways. So I was like, I want this natural birth. I can't say all the details, but I was able to have an orgasmic breech birth, and the number of miracles and synchronicities that unfolded in my life were uncanny to support that from happening. And part of it was because I was using the manifestation with orgasm with myself and my husband. The day of her birth, her due date, I did a manifest with orgasm, and I pulled my hand out at the end and water just gushed out. And I was like, that was the water breaking. That was definitely the water breaking. And so that saved my birth, because I was able to birth in a certain way where we got the baby out really fast. I used laxatives and then Pitocin to accelerate the birth, which is a blessing because we did not know that she had 3 cord wraps around her neck. And if it hadn't been super fast, she probably would have died. And I did actually have an experience of ascending afterwards and going into this realm because I did have a bit of bleeding. But interesting, orgasmic birth and torn yoni, you can have both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And it didn't mean that there wasn't pain happening, but I wasn't focused on the pain. I wasn't focused on experiencing the pain at that time. I knew it wasn't time. Then afterwards I could go in and remember it. That's sometimes what we have to do. So maybe I'll stop with that story and just use it as a metaphor. If somebody is feeling like, gosh, I messed up because I had trauma. Maybe it was sexual abuse trauma, or maybe it's just being shut down. Maybe it's having a Catholic schoolgirl mother that taught you, we don't talk about this, or it's dangerous, or whatever. And there's these areas of armor or shame or disconnect. Think about it like, you know what? In the past, there was trauma and it was not time to deal with it. There's something that was just too much. And now it's not too much, because at your own timing, at the timing that it feels good for you, you can invite it to open up again and explore and dive in and be that loving mother, that loving healer, that loving father, that loving child, and play. And I do use with these 12 archetypes. So we're on the divine mother, and last month we were in the divine daughter, the archetypes of Aphrodite. So play with these different aspects of yourself in your womb and see it as not like, oh, there's something wrong with me. It's, wow, I'm so freaking ready for this now. I wouldn't have been ready before because it was too much. It was too much for my mother. It was too much for my great grandmothers. It was too much for the planet at the time that she was raped. It was too much for the wars happening around the earth when entire villages were hit by colonization and tragically raped. And this is happening, unfortunately, now with the wars going on in the world. So what an incredible opportunity. It's safe, it's peaceful, and the more pleasure and peace we can put into our wombs and invest it and have the Kundalini rise. And Kundalini is also something that we'll want to work with if we're on a priestess path, consciously, and also sometimes our Kundalini sets off when unconsciously it's like, okay, it's time. It's time. There's a connection with our twin flame energies, the twin pillars, the serpents, and our Kundalini. They're really one and the same, our feminine and masculine, roping its way up to heaven, coming down to earth, activating all of our earth, our cosmic and earth chakras, and bringing us home and whole. Oh, did I go all the way? So yeah, the orgasmic birth taught me that I still had trauma. I still had trauma, and it was okay. I had trauma. I was a breech baby. My mom had trauma in her womb. She shared with me. It hadn't completely healed, but my daughter's birth was an opportunity to release this deep stuff. And we alchemized it into this incredible, beautiful birth. So even though I was bleeding, I'd had this orgasm. She came out, she was blue, she wasn't breathing yet. I was in a state of the divine mother. All I have to do is look in her eyes and say, I love you. I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. Just breathe, sweetie. You can do it. She turned pink in seconds. It was like so amazing. So keep telling yourself, that little girl in the womb, as if you have a little girl in your womb, baby, you are so beautiful. You're so juicy and wet. It's safe to come out. Like, you can talk to your yoni. You can be even like your own tantric healer. You don't need to hire a Dakini or a Daka.
Well,
You can.
this is what I'm getting from you, because I mean, I've heard, only recently that this whole natural birth is like so much what is the norm, what is our true normal, is to be able to naturally birth without doctors and this and that and the other. And here you're talking about a breech birth, which I've never even heard anyone talking about that as being like normal. But your confidence and calmness through something as that we're taught is going to be so traumatic, a birth, it's so traumatic, it's scary. It's so refreshing.
Yes. And I have to give name credit for Deborah Pascali Bonaro, the founder of Orgasmic Birth. She has an incredible documentary. If ladies, if you haven't seen it, if you want a baby, don't want a baby, doesn't matter. Watch this. It will rewire your brain womb connection. I happened to bump into her through, in Bali, like total synchronicity. And she became my orgasmic birth coach.
What a
Also,
manifestation.
incredible manifestation. Also, shout out to the women at Boomi Sehat, my birth center. And I'm going to credit them not only because like they're amazing, but also they're an example of, we do need, especially if you're not 100%, like I was like, I don't know if I want to birth on my own, in a foreign country. And this is my first birth. I don't know how it is. And thank God I had incredible healthcare practitioners, and they had oxygen. They gave me Pitocin, which is a drug. It is a synthetic version of oxytocin, and it opens up the cervix. Did I want that? Was it my highest choice? No. I would have rather had it be on my own, or we tried the orange juice with the castor oil, which tastes disgusting, but it makes you have like wonderful diarrhea / poop your baby out. That wasn't strong enough. I had 0 contractions, and they needed to get this baby out within 24 hours because it can lead to infections if you have the water breaking. So I just want to say sometimes we need professional support. Sometimes we've been working on a problem for years and we're going, I'm not getting it. That's why we need our trained doulas, our trained twin flame coaches, our trained womb healers, our trained psychotherapists. There's different times and different spaces. And I believe in the future, there will be a point where we don't need drugs. I would love to be in that place. I'm also grateful for the medicine that I was able to get my baby out quickly with 3 cord wraps around her facing butt first. So yeah, but that medicine was given to me with full love, full consent, full explanation. It wasn't just like, hey, we're putting you through this. Unfortunately, our birth systems are a bit of an assembly line and a corporate greed state. So I'm so grateful to have these 4 midwives that were just showering me. They literally came to my blessing way, putting rose petals on me. Like, they cared from their heart, and we're still in touch. We message each other. We're like, soul family. That's what I want for every woman. And having those relationships around our womb, whether you're birthing something like a child, or you're birthing your orgasm, or you're birthing your blissness, you're birthing more health, more wealth. I love, Michelle, that you're leading these spaces, and I lead these spaces as well in different ways. And we're even collaborating in this moment, and perhaps in future, I hope in future collaborations, because sister love is so important. We need to have that. It's easier to have a female represent our sister, our mother, our daughter, and have a man represent. I mean, my husband, sometimes he'll all of a sudden channel the divine mother, and it's wonderful. And to heal our mother wounds and our sister wounds that have been going on for eons, so great to build that feminine energy and to get all of that oxytocin, that bonding, that sensual energy. It doesn't have to be sexual at all, but it's so important for women to come together and celebrate our whole being, our sensuality, our sexuality, our feelings, our spirituality, our thoughts. So that's why I'm so grateful that we met in our mastermind 10 years ago. It was a fundamental time in my life, and I know that was life-changing for us, and has created this 10-year friendship that I know will go on for many, many more decades. As long as we live and beyond, probably, because I know you from those Ed Hedwana days.
Absolutely.
I would love your ladies to come and check out a sacred womb temple on the full moon. It's called the Sacred Love Activation, and it's kind of anything goes. Like, it's a mystery what happens in there. So tune into your womb. We do have like a landing page that explains what you get. And there's 3 different tiers. We have the Moonstone tier that comes with the mastermind, that comes with a session. So what I will say is, for those of you ladies that feel really guided to having a sisterhood around the birthing of what you want to create every month, and a releasing of what you're done with, come to this call. I will give you a coupon code that will take off. You get a free month. Just try it out. So it's a normally $22 ritual, or actually, let's see. Actually, I think it's now $44 for the. So I'll just make it free. And there's different tiers. So I will make it free for attending the quartz tier, which is coming live to this incredible call that has changed my life by coming to them, by networking with other women. And yeah, I'm so grateful. And if we have a lot of your ladies, maybe we'll no, at some point we need to do our manifestation. I used to do these mastertations where we'd break out into Zoom rooms. We'd each go in, or we'd turn off our cameras. We'd go into our own like sacred spaces. We'd portal into ourselves, portal out, have conversations. So we'll have to talk about doing something like that later, because I feel like that's on the edge of the consciousness with your ladies. Yes, it'll be so fun. So yeah, just hang out, get to know each other. We need to come out of our shells and share and shine and exchange and mastermind and build our businesses together and just network and play. So yeah.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. You are the queen of this. You did it 10 years ago and you're still doing it, and you're doing it at a whole other level now. It's just so wonderful to have your wonderful
Oh,
energy.
yay. It's so my pleasure. Oh, much love. So yeah, it's aphroditeuniversity.org/full-moon. And I'll just make the coupon code Michelle. Michelle. It'll just be Michelle. It's easy.
Great. Well,
Um,
I'll put that in the notes and everything, the descriptions.
what we'll do is we'll just make an expiration date on it. So we'll have it for, yeah, until August 15th, 2023.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Yay.
yay.
Oh, so lovely.
So lovely. Thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate all that you had to share. And I know you have so much more to share, but it was just such a delight. Thank you.
But I love channeling and I'm so grateful to have this space to just go to the edge. And I felt so free and just really enjoyed that, enjoyed the energy of this space. And I love you, Michelle, and I love your soul sisters here. Yes, come and play and hang out with us.
Definitely. I look forward to doing it myself.